D'Marco Farr is joining us here as well. D'Marco, thanks for coming on with us. I know that Emily reached out to you just a half hour or so ago, and I could hear your voice through the phone like, what?
Oh, my God.
How big of a surprise?
I was like, please let it be the other AD. Please let it be the Laker guy. Come on. Really? No. But to answer your question, two things. You said yesterday, when you're talking about basketball, if you have a list, Wilt Chamberlain is on it.
Yep.
Same with AD. If you're talking about a list about the greatest defensive players in the game, AD is on that list. As far as greatest interior defensive line play, it's him and Reggie White, and that's it. Those guys transcend schemes. They transcend teams they're on. They can be on good teams, bad teams, whatever. They're still dominant. So those two guys are head and shoulders above everyone else that's ever played this game, in my opinion. D'Marco,
you obviously have been with the team for a very long time in a variety of capacities as a player, a Super Bowl champion, a broadcaster. You've been around Aaron Donald a lot. We know that Aaron Donald was kind of hinting at this for the last couple of seasons after they won the Super Bowl a couple of years ago. It seemed like he was genuinely considering maybe calling it a day, and yet here we are, and caught me by surprise. How big of a surprise was it for you, not just that they're losing a great player, but that now was the time he decided, you know what, that's it?
Mild shock. I'll say it this way. Some guys, when they retire while they're still playing. You can tell. They slow down. They just stop caring. They're smiling a little bit more. They're joking a little bit more. Aaron went from 0 to 1,000 and stayed there and retired at 1,000. His last game, he gave it all he had, and it seemed like he was ready for another season. That's how he was talking in that locker room in Detroit. So, yeah, I had no indication that he was going to be done. But, look, when it's April or March, April, and you're getting ready to go into camps again and leave your family and leave all that behind to go into that Spartan mode, sometimes you just say to yourself, you know what, this is it. I'm done. I've done all I can in this game. There's no more worlds to conquer, no more quarterbacks to sack, no more championships to win. It's time to be home, time to be a family man, and that's what takes over. But some guys do that while they're still in uniform. Aaron did it at the right time. He gave it all he had. He got to March. He said, you know what, I don't feel like doing this anymore, and I'm done.
Well,
that's what Hall of Famers do.
Yeah, I mean, you also, too, D'Marco, I think you hit on something big there, like the idea of going out still playing at a really high level. We will never remember Aaron Donald as anything other than a world wrecker. Right. There's never going to be any time where you remember Aaron Donald as vulnerable, Aaron Donald is slipping a bit. And, this is something that I've always found really interesting with, the elite of the elite, when they decide to call it a career, because I think a lot of them are sensitive to the idea of never wanting to be seen as anything other than that version of themselves, and Aaron Donald will never be seen any other way.
No, Elway going off with his finger in the air as a champion and retiring. Dare I say, I hope this is not L.A. blasphemy, but Kobe Bryant going out the way he went out. He went out going 1,000 miles an hour, the same way he came in. So, yeah, I mean, even Warren Sapp. Guys have asked me about Warren Sapp and Aaron Donald. I put Aaron ahead of Warren Sapp because when Warren Sapp switched schemes, the production kind of went down. And you remember him in that Raider uniform, and it didn't look right. You remember Aaron for one thing and one thing only: absolute destruction, absolute just game wrecking from start to finish. And if you keep less than 2 on him, he's going to ruin the game. So that's how you're supposed to go out. And on another note, I am so glad he waited 1 year to separate himself from J.J. Watt when they go into the Hall of Fame. Because now it's going to be just him and Brady, Aaron Donald and Brady going in at the same time, right, in 5 years. I think that's how it's going to go.
Okay.
Am I wrong about that? Right?
Brady was out last year, so he would have he would be 1 year behind Brady.
1 year behind Brady. Okay. Well, anyway, Aaron will get his flowers on his own as he should. So he's going out the best interior defensive lineman we've ever seen next to Reggie White.
D'Marco Farr, Super Bowl champion, joining us to talk about the surprise announcement that Aaron Donald is going to retire from the NFL. Of course, all breaking news brought to you by Valvoline Instant Oil Change, home of the 15-minute drive-through oil change. Surprise to me, surprise to Andy, to you, D'Marco. Did the Rams know? Did they wake up this morning and get a phone call, a text message from Aaron Donald, or is this something that you kind of tip your hand if you're Aaron Donald and say, hey, you guys should probably start thinking about what's coming next because I'm going to make a decision that's going to leave you without your best player on one side of the ball?
Look, after Emily called me, I called them and started making my rounds. And it seemed like they kind of knew. So give them credit for keeping the lid on this thing. And Aaron keeping the lid on this thing until right now. So I think it's something that they may have known about and could prepare for, which is really cool. So you have a plan that's been in place for a few weeks, a month now, to replace him, or at least try to replace him, or get somebody in there to fill those spaces. Because you can't replace him with one person. It's going to take 2 or 3 guys to do it, and you still have to identify who that is. So I think they kind of knew, but they waited until this moment to let the world know. So give them credit for keeping a lid on it.
Yeah, D'Marco, we were talking before the show about how, all the things you mentioned, there's nothing left for him to prove. He's the best at his position ever. He has a Super Bowl. He has all the accolades. He's financially secure. But how much do you think also just the idea of quality of life moving forward physically, like I want to be able to walk comfortably when I'm in my 40s and beyond, do you think plays a role in this?
Big time. I mean, you said 10 years. 10 years doesn't seem like a long time for a guy that's been that good, but he's done more in 10 than some guys have done in 15. So, look, but at some point, and this is what really amazed me about Aaron, 2 things when I was telling you, like how to tell how great a defensive tackle is. Count how many times he was actually knocked off his feet. And I guarantee you can't get beyond 5. And that's his entire career. Flat back, chopped, whatever. He stays on his feet. But that comes with a price, man. You are in the middle. You're taking hits from your hip to your shoulder at the same time. You're getting hit in the head. There's a lot of stuff. And he keeps coming back week after week. Even when he's hurt, he comes back faster than normal. So that stuff will take its toll. But he hasn't slowed down. It hasn't shown up on film just yet, but I'm sure in his private moments when he's at home, you start to feel all that stuff. So at some point you start to say, hey, look, what's left for me to do in this game besides hurt myself? You know what I mean? So It's time for me to step down, let somebody else take over, and I'll just enjoy what I've done and enjoy my life with my family.
D'Marco Farr joining us, talking about the retirement of Aaron Donald, which Aaron Donald announced earlier this morning. All breaking news on 710, brought to you by Valvoline Instant Oil Change. Look, this is one of these things that I when he initially started hinting at considering retirement, where my mind always went to Marco was, Aaron Donald's a football player, man. Like, he is so good at it. He seems to love playing football. He seems to be one of those guys that loves to prepare to play football. He's a legend in the weight room. He's never out of shape. Like, he just seems to enjoy everything about playing football, and fully understanding what you and Andy were just discussing about just it hurts, right? That NFL football physically hurts, and it takes its toll after a certain period of time. Do you think, fast forward a month, 2 months, 6 months, a year, and his body feels good, and he still has that fire in his gut, that there could be you know what? I left too soon. I left a little bit in the tank. I want to come back and do this again.
Oh, I'm sure. I talked to Andrew Whitworth about that, too, because he looks great. And I'm like, can you play? Yeah, I can play, but he's done. He made that choice that said he's not coming back. I assume Aaron's going down the same road. I heard this a long time ago when I was in college. When you're 18, 19 years old, you don't really understand, but I understand now. I had an old coach that told me the only thing that's real about this game is the pain. And as I get into my 40s and 50s, I understand that now. The only thing that's real is the pain. So if I'm Erica Donald, if I'm Aaron's wife, I'm going to give him golf clubs for Christmas. I'm going to give him pickleball paddles. I'm going to give him everything.
You can't put him on your team next week, D'Marco.
Yeah,
He's already
setting
You
it
already
up.
tried a ringer once, D'Marco. We're not allowing this twice.
But I'm giving him everything to keep his mind occupied, because there is going to come a day to where he's going to wake up, feel great, and miss football. And he's going to want to go back. Everybody does. But you're going to have to stick with your retirement. This is it. I am done. I hung up the pads. I am no longer a football player. That is hard to do.
Okay, looking ahead to next season, D'Marco, obviously we don't know exactly who would end up on the Rams via trade, free agency, whatever. But looking at who they have now, Aaron Donald has obviously been the heart and the soul and the captain of that defense. Who do you look to now to, I'm not going to say fill the void at Aaron Donald's level, but just fill the void in terms of that role, that stature?
Well, interior defensive line play, Kobe Turner.
Okay.
Is he ready to be the lead dog? Probably not just yet. I'm sure he was expecting to play with Aaron this year. and not just be the guy yourself, because you're going to see a lot of attention now that Aaron's not there. Ernest Jones, the linebacker, is going to have to step up and be that not just vocal leader, that emotional leader, because Aaron could lead without saying a word. He could lead with a look. So that's going to be hard to replace on that football team, let alone just the defense. So you're trying to find that leadership. It's going to be more than just right now. It's going to be something that's earned over time. But those two guys in particular are going to have to be the guys that step up right now in Aaron's stead.
Yeah, D'Marco, what about that? Like, not even necessarily from a defensive tackle perspective or an interior line perspective or even a defensive perspective. Like, how does Chris Shula put together a defense without knowing 99? Put that. That's kind of under the larger question that I'm trying to get at, which is, this guy is your team. He is the heart and soul of your organization. This is the guy that sets the tone for everybody. We've talked about it, like, at camp, like if Aaron Donald looks at you a certain way in the weight room, you're supposed to do it. If you're not going hard enough and you're not going as hard as Aaron Donald, how do you look at yourself in the mirror? How do you replace not just an unbelievable talent the way that he was, but how do you replace the emotional center, the heart and soul of your team at this point?
It's hard, man. I mean, go back to Ray Lewis in Baltimore. I mean, when your quarterback's the leader, that's one thing. I mean, and Matthew Stafford is an excellent leader. His reach is all the way through that locker room. But it's different when it's a defensive guy that's a leader of the football team, because everyone's afraid, everyone's scared, everyone's intimidated, everybody respects him, and you don't have to bark. It's just your presence alone will make guys work harder or show up or sit up straight. So maybe when Aaron steps down, somebody else that has those same sort of qualities can step up. But if Aaron's still here, that guy will still remain as the B level. But now that guy has to step up and become that leader. And you have to accept that. That is so hard when you are that guy and everybody's looking to you. And it may not be something you want. It may not be something that you don't want to accept, but you have to. You have to be that guy for the football team. If not, all is lost. So if I'm Chris Shula, I'm thinking, why now? I finally get a job. I finally get a chance to be a DC. I don't have AD. But look, it opens the door for a lot of stuff. So we'll see what happens. It's a sad day for Rams fans, but it's a great day to celebrate Aaron Donald and what he's done for the Rams.
Yeah, it's pretty mind-boggling to think about everything he accomplished. And also, too, you said, like, it's a great day to celebrate him. He's a Rams lifer. Like, he managed to do all of this while playing for one organization. He's going to be on the short list of greatest Rams ever, not just because of his talent, but because he was a lifer. And, like, that stuff makes it extra special.
No doubt. And one of the greatest NFL players ever. And I agree with Deion Sanders with the Hall of Fame. There should be a room of like first-team Hall of Famers.
Yes.
Like, separate from everyone else, and he will definitely be in that room.
So just very quickly here, and we'll get into some of these stats, but just to give you an idea of what we're talking about, in his 10 years, he won the Defensive Rookie of the Year in his first year. And then after that, this is where his finishes were in the Defensive Player of the Year. Second, fourth, first, fifth, first, third, second. Or excuse me, the ninth is the last one. Yeah, I mean, come on, man. I mean, what are we talking about here?
Incredible. Hey, my favorite Aaron Donald play, it was after the game in Seattle when he put the helmet on with no pads and went back to the middle of the field and got into a dust-up. You guys remember that?
I do.
That was the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life. You know what I mean? Forget the shoulder pads. Just let me protect the face. Let me go handle business. I love that.
Aaron Donald looks back on the season where he only finished 9th for Defensive Player of the Year. Right? That was the year I was crap. I look back at that season with shame.
Crazy.
Wow.
Crazy.
And he does it. Look, his technique is flawless. He's not just this big monster guy that overpowers people. It's technique involved. He works at it. He's great at everything he does. His prep is good. His recovery is good. Everything he does is great. So there's only one place for people like that, and it's Canton, Ohio, and I can't wait to see it.
One last one before I let you go. We're talking with D'Marco Farr, Super Bowl champ. Aaron Donald announced his retirement early this morning. What does Sean McVay say to the team? When they get assembled for mini camps or whatever, what do you say to your team when not just because, look, good players come and go, great players even come and go. Like you said, the secret society of Hall of Famers do not. What do you say to your team?
You know what? I'd be low-key fired up, Think about it, right? Now that Aaron's out, there's a chance for somebody else to step in. There's a chance for somebody else to become a leader. There's a chance for this team to win without the best player we've ever seen in the game. What a challenge. What an outstanding opportunity for this football team to overcome. Something they've been they're used to doing. Like even last year, we're supposed to be rebuilding, and they got to the playoffs. So here's another one. Let's see if you can be as good or better without Aaron Donald. Not impossible. Going to be tough, but let's see how he coaches it. Let's see how they react to it.
Well, I don't know how important this is to you or not, D'Marco, but I know the first thing that I'm going to talk about when we go to Rams camp this year. I know how we're going to open up those shows for sure. D'Marco, thanks a bunch for checking in with you. I'm sure that your phone's ringing off the hook. Everybody's going to want to talk about AD today. I appreciate you making a little time for us.
You got it, guys. Talk to you soon.
You got it.